All right, man. The real estate industry, one of my favorite topics, man, because, hey, I've been selling real estate for about 20 years now. The real estate industry is failing us realtors, and it's pretty simple why. Because it's teaching us to be in the state of convincing. We are supposed to convince somebody to go from point A to point B. Our scripts, our presentations, our awards, our pictures, our open houses, our drone shots, all of it, our brochures are all dedicated to helping convince the prospect to sell or buy with us. In this video, I'm going to show you how all that is bull. And I'm going to give you the actual ninja tricks on how to convert and convince people the right way. So, before we get on and show you how to convince people the right way, we must learn how an individual actually learns. How an individual is actually convinced. The most ineffective way is to talk at somebody like a lawyer does. Okay? That's not how you convince somebody. Because before you can even go into the presentation, before you even go further in this video, you must learn this. There is a perceived bias against the salesperson. Let me say that again. There is a perceived bias against salespeople. They do not like you. They do not like you, bro. They do not like us because they feel we are commission-based scavengers. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how good looking you are. I don't care how much you study on your scripting, how much you pay your coaches, how much money you made in commission. I don't care about the car you drive, yo. They do not like you. Now, one of the ways successful agents become successful is learning how to do business with strangers. There comes a point where your past clients, your sphere of influence, if you're using the right referral marketing methodology, which we teach in our course Deals on Autopilot, yes, they like you. You are coming from a good place. That'll be the second point that we talk about. But there is a perceived bias against realtors in this case, or any salespeople. They think you are lying to them. By knowing this, you can act accordingly, which I'm going to teach you in this video. But the first step is absolutely understanding that they think of you as a sleazy salesperson in the beginning. So, having a perceived bias and trying to convince them is low-hanging fruit. It's not going to work. You might get a deal or two or fruit that you can cash, but you're not going to get all the apples on the tree. Because every realtor is telling the prospect that today is the best time to sell their house. Really? Interest rates are jacked. There's a whole bunch of inventory in the neighborhood. Days on market has never been higher for comparable homes. But you, the realtor, is like, hey, man, the best time to sell is today. And the best time to sell before that was yesterday. Sign right here. Shit don't work, man. Everyone's saying the same thing. Now, let's get good at this. They have a perceived bias about realtors. Now, what can make this bias better? Third-party validation. So now we need to get good at third-party validation. This is where our referrals come in. This is where our referral partners come in. Other lawyers and mortgage brokers and home inspectors that are talking good about you. This is where even marketing comes in, where people can go on your websites and your Google reviews and seeing all the testimonials of all the good things that are said about you. It makes it a little better because it gives credibility. which gives others conviction about you. So third-party validation is an amazing way to run a business. Now they are edifying you before you walk in the door. I got to make a whole video about how that is done. But in this video, I want to talk about the best way, without a shadow of a doubt, on conversion techniques, on how to convince people to do business with you. Okay? Because people don't want to believe you because of the perceived bias. They believe you a little bit if you have third-party validation about you. But they will always, and I mean always, believe the third thing, which is themselves. People will always believe themselves. So now you, as a sales ninja, as a converting master, a commission warrior, you know what I'm saying? Have to know how you can get them to convince themselves. So here it is. You have to do things in reverse. I call it reverse objection handling. Here it goes. You have to be good at forming the question to your prospect. You lead with questions and you let your prospect talk to the point where they convince themselves to do business with you. Most agents are like, hey, Mrs. Seller, the best time to list your home is today. You know what Rick says? Not that. I want you to write this question down. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what would be wrong with keeping your home? That just threw him for a loop-de-loop. What's wrong on where you're living right now? What? Say whichever way you want. But the key word is wrong. What's wrong with the house that you're living in now? Now they're going to be giving you objections that serve your purpose, which is listing the home. Let's pause there for a second. If you're a really good salesperson, you have to understand your purpose is not to get the sale. Your purpose is to serve the client. There's been times where I've been sitting at a listing presentation and I convince the seller not to sell their home. It wasn't right. They didn't have the reasons to do it. Now, I helped them that doesn't mean I didn't get a deal, because through the analysis, I learned that they have a lot of equity in their house. And even though that they're fine in where they're living, it's big enough, it's close to the schools that the kids go to. They like the schools the kids go to. They just had an itch to move. They thought it would make them money. So I said to them, there's better ways to make money. Leverage the equity in your house and buy and invest smaller investment property. Now you have two assets. Now I'm increasing your net worth in real estate. When I'm increasing their net worth in real estate, I'm also increasing my reputation as someone that helps them build net worth. So selling their home is not the goal. Getting them as a client for life and their friends and family, making them into a raving fan is the goal. And sometimes that can be counterintuitive. Most real estate agents are trying to sell. I'm not leaving this. Let me tell you a story before I give away the punchline. I remember when I first got in the business, there was a guy who was amazing at listings. He was great at listings. And I said, hey, how the heck do you get all these listings? He's like, Rick, I don't leave the house. I stay there until they sign the listing. I shove it down their throat. Man, there was a time and space, maybe that kind of selling style worked, but not now. Now with social media, people are understanding. They're more spiritual, I would say. You have to lead with authenticity. Authenticity sells, in my opinion. And to be truly authentic, you have to take your prospects' needs and values into consideration. So let's go back with it. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what's wrong with the house that you currently live in? Now they're going to say things like, oh, Rick, it's too small. I don't like the school district. The basement isn't big enough for the kids to play anymore. Rick, you've seen the backyard. It doesn't exist. Okay, I'm writing all those down. Now they're giving me reasons to sell the home. It's called reverse selling. Because no matter how good your offer is, there will be objections. Now they're giving you objections that fill your need of getting the listing signed. Right? Light bulbs should be going off. Here's another question. So now let's say we did the analysis and I do agree that the house is too small for them, or the school is not in a good rating, or we agree on the reasons they should sell their home. Do you see how you are number one as a realtor right now? Because the other three realtors that they interviewed were trying to strong arm them into getting that listing. And you're actually being considerate. You're actually being the pro by asking probing questions. In reverse, not telling them what to do, because we understand that people always believe themselves. The first part of this video. They will always believe themselves. So let them come up with a conclusion by asking the right questions. Here's another question you can ask. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if you got the right price for this home, with all the terms that fit your needs, what would stop you from signing off on that offer? See, now I'm getting their motivation on steroids. I'm getting their objections out before they're even objections. I don't want to wait until I do all the work and now I get an awesome offer and now they don't want to sign off on it because they're having remorse, seller's remorse. Oh my God, I actually really love this house. Nah. Because the reasons why my conversions were so high is because I never took on weaker product. By weaker product, I mean unmotivated prospects. See, when you become really good at real estate sales, you understand that you have an overflow of business. You understand systems where you get an overflow of business. And when you have an overflow of business, you can pick and choose who you want to do business with. Whereas some of you watching this video, you're coming from scarcity. You don't even have something close to an overflow of business. Actually, this is the first listing appointment you went on to all year, and it's friggin' June. Let's say you're going to do everything you can to get that listing. Mr. Seller, we could price it $100,000 higher. Sure. You're not saying that, but you're taking the listing. Sure, Mr. Seller, I'll do it for, low commission. Because you're so desperate, because you don't understand how to get an overflow of business. Subscribe to this channel, keep watching these videos, and you will have an overflow of business. But for now, let's continue back to being a ninja in conversion. So what you want to do is you want to articulate the question so they come up with their own answer. So back to what I was saying, the question where I said, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if you got the right price with the right terms for this house, what would stop you from signing off on the deal? If they're very confident, we're moving forward. But if they seem iffy, that's not a very motivated seller for me. So what you want to do is you want to get sellers to verbalize the reasons why they should sell. The objections now are working in your favor, like I showed you. This is contradictory to what the real estate industry teaches us. I'm not saying they teach us things on purpose. They don't know. And the people that do know are called your top producers, your top 1%ers. They're making millions of dollars in real estate sales commission, and they have no reason to teach you those things. Because I was one of those people, I want to lead from value. I want to teach you these things because in my life right now, what makes me feel good is contribution. See, I have 4 pillars that I live my life by. Yes, my beard is grayish. I remember a time where I couldn't even grow a beard. I remember I was a teenager and really wanted to grow a goatee, and I couldn't grow a beard. And now my beard is white. What does that tell you? I have experience. And there's different levels in life depending where you are. And I've seen a lot of those levels. So the 4 pillars I live by is health, wealth, relationships, and contribution. To break that down, I don't want to be the richest person in the world if I have nobody to love in my relationships and I'm 60 pounds overweight. That's not success to me. See, success to me has to be a balance of those 4 things. I have to have loving relationships in my life. I have to feel healthy. I have to be working on my wealth and my business. And fourthly, what makes me feel good is leading with contribution. So I like to think that I'm a great father. That's one thing I can say without hesitation, because I'm leading with contribution and I'm teaching my sons the right way of living life. And as a realtor, I've done a lot of wrong things. But doing wrong things is a mistake, but it's not a failure. Failure is not understanding the mistake was only try number 1. Yo, I got try number 2. I got try number 3. It's like playing video games. Not that I play many video games, but back in the day, I used to play Super Mario Brothers. I had like 4 or 5 lives. And if those 4 or 5 lives went, I could start again continue from where I left off. I have unlimited lives. That means I had unlimited tries. That's why I can move through all those crazy Super Mario levels. You know what I'm talking about. Jumping over things, hanging off cliffs, turtles trying to fire at you, whatever. Right? Now all you guys are thinking about the Super Mario games. How can you do that with 1 life? So if you went and you died on level 1, you can have level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, level 6, level 7, level 8. You can make it to all those levels because you can keep trying. That's the same way I want you to think about your real estate career and life in general. So now, this is how we put this on steroids. I also want you to learn from my mistakes. Yes, you will learn from your own mistakes because you're not going to quit. Because that's not what winners do. Winners don't quit. But by watching this channel, I want you to learn from my mistakes. I'm giving you this advice because it makes me feel good. Even if one of you use this, I'm leading with contribution. My life is worth something. Because the mistakes that I make, now you no longer have to make. And what do you do in return? Subscribe. Subscribe, like, comment. You know what I'm saying? So reverse selling, reverse objection handling is going to make you a ninja in conversion. Remember, the least effective way is to talk at people because people have a perceived bias against salespeople. You're working from behind. So if you come into the door, they already have a perceived bias about you, and now you're trying to convince them to do work with you. Well, it's not going to work because they know that you're just after the commission check. Now, what's going to help that little bit that we talked about is third-party validation. But what's going to help the most is helping them come up with their own decisions because people will always believe themselves. So all you have to do is come up with the right questions to help them convince themselves. And I shared a couple of questions here in this video. Look, man, you are only a few tweaks away from going from lost to legendary. We'll see you on the next one.